Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I am so excited for you to meet Dana Goodemote. She is a professional branding and headshot photographer located in Buffalo, New York, so right nearby me. She has over 20 years in the industry and has created a business that helps other businesses stand out through photography. She uses her proven strategy to get her clients past hiding behind their brand and becoming the personal brand they need to be to catapult their businesses. By photographing other business owners and helping them see their worth is her passion, as well as she just helps women shine on photos and in real life as well. I'm so excited for you to meet Dana today. Thank you so much, Dana, for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Danielle. I appreciate it.
And you just have, like that energy and that spirit that just brings everybody up with you and everything. And you're so many more things than just photographer and branding and everything like that. So I'm excited to dive in today. But can you share a little bit about your background and your journey? What led you to photography, as well as what's brought you to where you are now?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I started photographing in high school, which is kind of cliche, but I took a photo course. And of course, like most high school students, my parents said that you need to get a job. So I worked at a pizzeria for a week. I cried every day to my parents.
I did a pizzeria too. That place was like something,
Right. It was not my thing.
It was all guys and me.
Yeah, exactly. It was just not, I still don't like looking at raw chicken wings, but but it was a good way because it pushed me into looking for a photography job. That's my parents said, well, if you don't like doing something like this, then go find a photo job. So I ended up working for a local photographer my junior year, and I was just an assistant. So I just helped her out with weddings and different things all summer long. And it was great. So I learned a lot from her. And then from there, I went on to college and I worked for another company in the area as a wedding photographer. And then I also worked full-time as a commercial photographer, full-time, part-time really during college. So it was a really great experience though. And it was wonderful. From there, I learned a ton. I got my degree and it was a 2-year program. So I got my degree I was 19 when I graduated. And at 22, I started my own business. I left both companies and I started my own studio. Yeah, I was really lucky.
You have been an entrepreneur for a long, long time and still, been able to stick with it and grow with the industry. I'm sure it's changed so many years because I'm guessing if your photo class was anything like mine, you had a roll of film, you were in a dark room developing, and now it's like click, click, click. Let's look at the pictures right now.
Exactly. Yeah, totally changed. In fact, it was the first year that digital cameras came out into the education piece of school. So before that, it was all film. So when I went to college, it was I was like the first introduction of students doing digital and film, which I was really lucky for because that was a big game changer. And it was great. I started my business in wedding photography. And the first year I booked 30 plus weddings and I doubled my income from the other 2 jobs I was doing at the time. It was awesome. I didn't look back. I haven't taken income from anything else ever since. So I just kept on booking every year. It was an interesting time because I was one of the few female photographers in the wedding space that had their own studio at the time. There was maybe a handful of us in Buffalo. I know, which is really weird because now it's mainly female driven industry. Right. But back then it was a very male dominated industry. So most of the studios were owned by men and then they would have females work underneath them because that's what brides really were attracted to, is working with other women. So I thought to myself, well, I could do this on my own and I don't need some guy to tell me where to, who to work with or when. So yeah, so I started it and I did bridal shows. And I booked all my wedding work from that for years. Actually, for 8 years, I did mainly weddings, and I worked out of my home, which was perfect. It was low overhead. I was able to raise my daughter in the meantime. I got married in the meantime, and it was great. And then I got to a point where I loved weddings, but I wanted something a little bit more. So I wanted to start a portrait studio as well. And I did that in 2016 with a friend of mine, which she didn't last very long in the business, but that's okay. It happens. And we opened a beautiful studio on Main Street in Williamsville. And it was funny because it took us almost a year to find a space. We found this abandoned location. Nobody was in it. And we had to convince the owners to rent it to us.
Oh, wow.
I know. Huh. They didn't want to rent
it. Please take our money, please.
Right, exactly. I mean, it was ridiculous. We kept calling and calling and calling. And they didn't want to rent it because the space wasn't ready to rent. But we said, hey, listen, we'll take it over. We'll do the work inside of it. Just give us the space. So that's what happened. And it was great. Actually, I'm still in that space now. It's been about 7 years since then. And I took over the second side too. So that became my portrait studio. I also ran my weddings out of there moving forward. And I cut down my weddings a lot over the last few years just because the portrait studio has really ramped up. And my goal really is to work with females. So I love photographing women. I think that is just a really special space to be in, is getting women to see their worth through images, and not only through branding imagery, but also beauty, family, boudoir, all of those genres. It's so powerful to see yourself in a different light and through someone else's lens. And I just love that. It lights me up, and it's fun.
You bring out the confidence and the beauty in a way that I don't think we even see it in ourselves until we get with you. And I think that's so powerful, because for years, I remember wanting to maybe not be in front of the camera or sit in the back row or kind of critique, I don't want to pose that way. It makes me look like this. My nose looks like this. I don't look good on this side. And I think, unfortunately, there's something about pictures and photography and video that can bring out our worst inner critic. We can rip ourselves to shreds over just one little snapshot. And I love the way you help us see that confidence and that beauty in ourselves. And how has that been working with women, helping them kind of break down some of maybe their own inner critic and things like that? Do you see that transformation when you're with the women?
Absolutely. Yes. And I'm the same way. I mean, I think all women go through that, right? I go through that too when I'm being photographed. I'm like, wait, let me look at it. Let me do this. I'm a little bit of a micromanager at that, but I know deep down inside that, that the images are going to be beautiful, even though I'm being critical of myself. And I can relate with other women who go through the same thing. So with that said, definitely getting comfortable in front of the camera is really important, but a lot of that is posing and just knowing what works for you, your body, what you like is really important. So a lot of it is posing. A lot of it is just moving the body in specific directions. You always want to create an hourglass in the body for women. And if you can show women how amazing they look as you're photographing them, it's a game changer. Like, there's always a pivotal point in every shoot that, you get a client into the set and they're a little nervous. You can tell, but everyone's nervous. It's totally normal. And then you start shooting, you start going, throwing some good music, start vibing, and you really walk them through it all. But you're also walking them through, how it's making them feel in the moment too, because that's really important. I think the experience is connected with the images, and that's huge, because how you feel in the moment really dictates on how you look in an image. If you don't feel great in that moment, you're not going to feel like the image is great. So you want to get in that headspace where you feel good in your own skin. And a lot of it is just coaching, coaching you through it, through the shoot. But I love the part where, I turn the camera around and I show my clients what's going on, what I'm getting on my end, and their eyes light up and they're like, oh, okay, no, this is good. We can keep going.
Yeah.
And it's creating that trust too, that trust with your client, which is huge. But really, it's just, everyone's so beautiful, and they just don't always see it until you show them a different perspective. And that's the best part.
Yeah. And I like how you break it down. There's more to it than just point and click. I think for a lot of us, our photo experiences have either been our own, homemade shots on our cameras, as they've evolved over the years, or just those classic school photos where it's like, point this way, turn this way. They do something funny with your hair. At least they always did with mine. I'm like, why did they even touch it?
Same.
And then you get back something that you're like, I can't get retakes fast enough,
Right.
And so I think having had maybe photo experiences that didn't include that personalization, that coaching that I think we take for granted is something we should know or understand. I think there's so many parts of self-care that get taken for granted and assumed like, I should know this, I should understand it, that you don't recognize how powerful and pivotal it can be in transforming that whole experience.
Nope, I totally agree with you on that. And I love that you mentioned self-care, because I think having a professional photo shoot really is a self-care thing that you can do, especially if you're not feeling great in your own skin. My clients are always like, when they look to book, like, well, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's like, nope, come in now, because I promise you those 10 pounds that you're thinking you need to lose, you don't need to.
Yeah.
And if you feel that way, just posing alone is going to take 10 pounds off visually. It's just, posing is so important. And really 10 pounds is like, that doesn't matter at all. What matters is how you feel. But when you can see it in real time, posing and angles and things like that, and just feeling good in your body is so important. And it's such a self-care moment where you're like, oh, I do feel good. I do feel powerful. And I don't need that silly, thing I'm telling myself that I need to change or do differently, because we all have that voice in our head, but it's not real. It's a fake voice.
Right. Or we don't need to cover ourselves over layers and layers of, sweaters and clothes and things like that to try and hide ourselves versus letting ourselves shine.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that. In fact, less clothes are better for shoots. But it's so fun. It really is. And it's just so great to see people really kind of dig into their own power. And that's the best part. I love that. It's really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think even, doing those power poses, or like you said, the hourglass, understanding the energy that we transmit just by the way we stand, I think can probably make a huge difference.
Huge. I actually took a course in body language, and it was the best course I ever took. It was so fun because it really does, even just your everyday body language, it just shows so much to other people subconsciously. You don't even realize it. So in portraits, it's even more important because people are looking at them in still time, right? Like a video is in moving time. Life is in a moving time. But I always say that portraits is it's like a capture of time. So you really want to omit that confidence, that strength, all of those things. And that's something I always work with my clients too, before they even come into the shoot, is what are we shooting for? What type of feeling, are we going for, or aesthetic or look? And it's kind of all of those things, but creating something that they feel really good about too, because not everybody may want to be photographed the same way. So that's important as well. When you're photographing people, is making sure that you're photographing them in the light that they want to be seen in, versus what you assume they do. Because I've made that mistake when I first started photographing women, and it was one of those things where I just photographing everyone the same, and I quickly realized, like, oh wait, everyone's different. Everyone has a different perspective that they want to show. So it's important to have that consultation beforehand, so you can really kind of dig in. And it's a great time too, if there are any blocks there, that you can kind of work through them before they even get into the studio, so they feel more confident coming in, versus it being, trying to tackle those day of.
Right. And absolutely. I think taking that customization to curate the right experience is so important. But just in general, for someone listening who's still just taking photos on their own, or, for day-to-day pictures, what would you say are the top, say, 2 to 3 mistakes you see us making with our pictures that you would fix immediately if you had the power to tell everybody?
Ooh, I love this. Most women always try to put their chin up in images versus chins out and down. So everyone thinks, oh, I don't want my double chin or whatever. I hear that all the time showing, right? So what happens is that you actually, when you put your chin up, you're actually elongating your chin. So it looks like one neck versus having a jawline. So what you want to do is you want to bring your chin kind of like neutral position. I say chin out and down. So I call it the turtle. So you want to like stick your chin out like a turtle. Out of the neck. Yeah, exactly. And it's great. And you can see it's run zoom. So you can like kind of see it like just pop out, and you can see my jawbone pop out. And yeah, exactly. You got it. And it's just an easy thing to do, but that's definitely something I always say is like, just remember to bring your chin out and down, because Otherwise, it's going to look like this, and it looks like you see up your nose, all the, all the features you don't want to see if your chin's up. So I would
Right.
say chin's out and down. And then the second one is anything that you don't want to look larger in photos is to push your booty. I always say push your booty to the wall. So you want to either, push your body or push whatever you don't want large back towards away from camera. So for example, if you want your waist and hips to look smaller, you stick your butt back a little bit. If you want your chest to look a little bit smaller, you stand up straight and you bring your chin a little bit more forward. So there's all different ways to kind of manipulate that. And I would say the other thing is a lot of people want to shoot down too. I think, oh, that down angle is the best angle, which really it's not, because what happens is that your head looks larger than your body, especially on camera phones because they're wide angles. So your head looks huge and your body looks weird and not right. So you want to be more on a more like the same level, like an eye level with your camera versus shooting like this, because then you get that weird disfigurement of the rest of your features.
Right. Okay. No, those are awesome. Great tips, because like I said, today especially with digital cameras, our phones are basically our cameras. Everyone's taking pictures almost on a daily basis in some format, whether it's a selfie, whether it's family photos, vacation photos, and you don't want to wait for a special event photo to look your best. You want to try and make all your photos look special so that you build that confidence on a regular basis.
Exactly. Yeah. And then creating angles too. I always say, think of your body as a bunch of triangles. So if you can create any kind of triangle within the body, so maybe it's like a hand on hip creates a triangle in that space. You want to put your hips not on your hands on your natural waist and not your hips, because you want to create that hourglass. So any way to create an hourglass, put a leg over, bend a leg a little bit. Like there's so many different cool ways to do it, but it's true. You want to look great in your photos. So definitely those little tips are easy to do.
No, those are fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing them. So what do you do to take care of you? Obviously, you know what the camera can and can't do, but also just in general, as a mom, a wife, a business owner for so long, how do you take care of yourself and manage your own self-care?
Thank you. It's a great question. So I would say over the years, my self-care has been horrible. However, I finally feel like I'm getting a handle on it. So I do work out 3 days a week in the mornings, and I love that I go with a friend, and it's super fun because it's like girl powwow time, but we're also working out, which is wonderful. So it's great. I also do yoga a couple of times a week, which is really helpful. And I just try to be mindful of the way I talk to myself in my head too. So I think that's huge, is just having a good narrative versus a negative narrative, because it's easy as an entrepreneur yourself, you know how it is. Like you're very critical because you're probably a perfectionist like me. So it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I didn't get this done. Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do that, or I didn't do what I wanted to do, or whatever it may be. But creating those mindset that it's okay if you didn't get done today, there's tomorrow, and having, 3 major things that I get done every day makes me feel better. I feel like that's like, even though it's more of a productivity tip, but I feel that it goes into my self-care too, which is helpful. That way I'm not beating myself up at night about how much I didn't get done.
You're crushing it, Dana, crushing it between the mindset, mindfulness, the connections with others, the workout, the time management. Like give yourself credit, because you are doing amazing. Amazing.
It's been a lot of trial and error. So,
but you know what? There is no one way, and it does take trial and error to see what's going to work for you. Because, like you said, it probably wasn't fantastic for a while. Because sometimes we think we need to do it a certain way, or it needs to look a certain way, and finding your groove is key.
Absolutely, no, I agree. And I think too, we tell ourselves that we have to be all or nothing in some spaces, and I did that for a long time, where it's like I had to be all work to grow the business, or I had to be all family to not feel guilty for growing the business. So it's a tricky balance. I feel like at this point, especially at this point of my career, I feel like everything is, kind of shaking itself out, and we have a good routine in my home and at work. So it works out well, but routine's important too. And that's also something I wasn't good at for a long time, but
you got to give yourself the grace to learn these things. That's the thing. We don't just know it. We shouldn't just assume that it comes easily. And it takes time to develop these different practices.
It really does. And once you do, I as a creative, you kind of fight having a routine because it doesn't feel creative, right?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like you're stuck in this box and you're like, oh, I don't need that. It's going to hurt my creativity or whatever. And I told myself that for a long time that, like, oh, if I have this routine, this stringent, calendar and all these things, I'm not going to have room to be creative. My creativity is going to be crushed. And really it's the opposite, where the more structure I have built into my life, the more my brain is able to be creative in other ways. So it takes out the worry and all the other chatter going on of like, oh, did you like your brain going in a gazillion different directions because you have that system set in place. So you know that those things are being done. And then it gives you time to have a little bit more fun in your head.
That's awesome.
More creativity.
Yeah. We always assume we need to be doing more, where really less is so much more.
For sure. Absolutely. I agree.
So I also always love to talk about gratitude as a part of our self-care as well. And so I would love to hear maybe 2 or 3 things that you're the most grateful for.
Absolutely. And gratitude is a huge part of my practice too. I always say gratitude is the key to happiness. I think that's super important. And my dad actually taught us that growing up. So I know it was cute. Every dinner we'd have to like sit down and go around and say something we're grateful for. So it was a good practice to learn. But I would say obviously definitely my family, my husband and my daughter, I love them the most. And I would say the journeys that I've had over the years, good and bad, have really created the person I am. So I'm really grateful for all of that. I think I wouldn't be where I am without the hard times. I think that's really important. I've learned a ton through that. And that is something and it's great too, because even when you wake up every morning and you can say, okay, what am I grateful for today? It's like, I have food, I have a shelter. Those are basics. I'm grateful for that. If I have those things, I'm good. Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, they're basic things, but not everybody has that. So I think just even starting there and saying I'm grateful for just those little human things that we sometimes take advantage or take for granted is important. And then the third thing I would say, I'm grateful for the women that I'm surrounded by. I have a really wonderful network of women. And I think that is just priceless, because when you're an entrepreneur, it's very lonely. Especially if you work by yourself. And it's tough. It's hard to make adult relationships too. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's not always easy. So having that network of other entrepreneurs that are going through the same thing, and other females, in different industries, is really fun too, because you learn so much from them, like yourself. Like But I would say those 3 things are really important: family, life scenarios, and definitely the women in my life. I love that, because I think that's so relatable too. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, again, you end up very isolated, very alone, and finding those connections and kind of your people, the people that get you in that way, is so powerful. It is, definitely. Yeah. I encourage, if you are feeling isolated no matter if you're in a traditional job, stay at home, or an entrepreneur, definitely get out and just start networking. I mean, networking is really where majority of my good friends have come from, and it's great. And it's, it's nerve-wracking at first, but once you get into it, it's so fun. It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. So how can people find you, connect with you, and hopefully if they're in the Western New York area, work with you? Sure. So you can find me at adorephotostudio.com. And you can also find me on Instagram at adorephotobuffalo, which is my portrait Instagram. Hopefully people enjoy it. I try to share a lot of information on there, and reach out even if you're not in Buffalo, still reach out if you have any questions about branding or creating a personal brand in any way. I'd love to help, and I'd love to connect with whoever is interested. That's awesome. And all those links will be live in the show notes below. So thank you so much, Dana, for joining me today. Thank you, Daniela. I appreciate you. Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger. As well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much, and talk to you soon. Bye.